Today's card today is Hall of Storm Giants. It's a land that if you control 2 or more other lands, Hall of Storm Giants enters the battlefield tapped. Also taps for a single blue, but also for 6 generic and a blue. Until end of turn, Hall of Storm Giants becomes a 7/7 blue giant creature with Ward 3. It's still land, so it becomes this huge giant, of course. This card is amazing. I love the artwork for it, by the way. I think it's awkward to say, but it's one of the only, I believe, cards which depicts something under complete submersion of water, where I think all the other cases it's like some upper kind of viewpoint, and I think it's cool. I think that's really cool. I think there's like a land that does something like this as well. I could be wrong, but I believe this is like one of the few cards that actually shows complete submersion of a depiction underwater. So that's pretty cool. I do like I think the storybook version of this, the D&D cover book art. It looks pretty sick, although I do have to say I'm more of a modern frame kind of person, so I try to get everything in the same frame. Yeah, this card is amazing. I think like all of them, these are really amazing creature lands. This one in particular I think is one of the better ones. I think the higher the cost, generally the better. But of course there are a lot of like stipulations and caveats to that, of course, depending on your deck, depending on the meta, etc, etc. All generally good lands. This one in particular is really nice as a top end, especially for being blue. I think a lot of control decks have issues with trying to close out games, and this being a 7/7 with Ward 3 is super interesting. For one, I think it becomes incredibly interesting to see how this plays in competitive formats, because I know a lot of people, especially in Modern, they ended up playing something like Celestial Colonnade, which is a 5 mana, essentially 4 I believe, because it doesn't tap itself. No, it's 5 because you have to tap itself, activate and use itself. Which doesn't tap, so I guess it is 5 mana all in all. For a 4/4, but awkwardly enough, that can be like pathed, right? This one, I guess it can still be pathed, but like the thing with this is it has Ward 3, so it's protection on a creature that's also on a land, which is really nice because it also means it dodges sorcery speed removal, but also in some cases, if your opponent isn't playing enough lands, the odds of them actually hitting this because it has Ward 3 is pretty unlikely. So it's like a creature with hexproof that closes out the game, which is really nice. I think it's really awkward sometimes when you have to play creature lands that are closing win con, because a lot of times they can just, all the removal that's being blanked from just by virtue of being control deck gets turned on. And so having Ward 3 makes it super crucial, but also the fact that this gets only animated for the turn means it dodges sorcery speed removal, and also means you're going to be hopefully protected by the end when using this. So I think most aggro decks run very low land counts, and so if they're stuck on like 3 lands, they're gonna have to take a whole turn off trying to get a 1-drop removal that also hits this huge creature, because it's gonna be hard to handle for aggro decks, because they have to take their whole turn off trying to maintain this thing. And honestly, that's a good thing to be in once you're playing in a control deck. But that's all I really can say about this. Yeah, it's a 7/7. It doesn't have trample or anything, but obviously, if you're playing control, you're going the long run. This dodges your own sorcery speed removal too. So like Wrath and stuff like that. Makes it really great. Yeah, it's not much bad you can say about this card. I think another reason to play this card over something like, I think Castle Ardenvale is pretty popular, is this closeout game super fast and it's protected. So that's really cool. Castle Ardenvale does have its ups though compared to this, because you can tap out at the end of turn to create a 1/1. That's kind of like a virtual card advantage, and that stuff can be used to, I guess, tackle planeswalkers, which can be hard to handle if you spend sorcery speed removal / you activate this land to handle it. Now, granted, you might be able to kill it in one sweep blow. Doing it at the end of step allows you to protect your attacks, as well as making them having to, I guess, answer your tokens during their turn or something like that. Otherwise, it's also safer against things like Field of Ruin, where this would not be safe against Field of Ruin. So you can activate this, and then Field of Ruin would happen. Where like if you Castle Ardenvale, you just activate Castle Ardenvale. It does still get hit by Field of Ruin, but you still make the 1/1, opposed to having like your 7 mana, essentially 6 mana creature. I guess 7 mana creature just destroyed. So definitely a lot of pros and cons. I think generally this card's really sweet though. Castle Ardenvale is probably my favorite over this still. For a control finisher, just because it's a little safer, I think, generally. Also can be used for a blocker more efficiently, because you can make it the end step, and then can be used, you can keep your mana up. So that's just my 2 cents. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Peace out, and I'll catch you guys later. Deuces.